sports, and politics. Get ready to rumble! You wanna talk smack? You in the right place. So take a step back before I get all up in your
remember, because I don't remember. I remember every bit of this.
The other dudes holding on the phone line. Your voice will be heard, sir.
Next caller, please.
Oh!
Jerry's gonna get him.
Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics.
Listeners are asking questions about this week's games, not Jerry's personal beef. So what's your thought?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. It's me, Mr. FSP, doing what I do because I do it for you all day, every day. Now, I got to tell you, it's been a wild, wild week. And even though I was wrong, I still had a winning record last week. I was 9-5. That's right. Couple games I missed on, but I was also on the fence about some, and yeah, I mean, I lost a few. Matter of fact, a couple of my locks I lost the Cardinals, I lost the Giants, and I lost Buffalo. 3 of the 4 locks. The Lions won, obviously, right? But I lost the Jets and Philly to round out my 5 losses last week. Look, I don't plan to be less than 10 wins a week, but I was. That's neither here nor there. We'll get to that stuff after we do some business. What up, Chris? Thank you. Chris says he likes my hat. You need a new hat. Looks like I need a new hat. No. Listen, I'm wearing this hat for the Red River rivalry. OU versus Texas. It's happening today. I'm going to talk about that stuff. But before I talk about that, I want to get into a very special guest that I have, okay? If you're ever interested in anything dealing with NIL, name, image, and likeness, I have a special guest that we're going to talk about it. And we're talking about it from middle school all the way through the pros. And I promise you, this is going to be a great piece if you want information. And an expert, not just me saying it, but an expert in the field saying it. So without further ado, I'm going to take a quick break, right? And I'm going to come right back with our special guest, Mrs. Deborah Russell. Be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Fantasy Sports and Politics. As I promised, I'm bringing on an expert that's going to talk to you about NIL, name, image, and likeness. This is an issue that I wanted to tackle because we're looking at young 8-year-olds, not 8-year-olds, 8th graders receiving NIL promises before they even make it to college. Now, I, for one, have been a proponent for NIL. I don't know if my guest is going to like that, but let me introduce my guest, Deborah Russell. She has an MBA. She's an elite certified business coach and speaker, holds a master's level certificate in, please don't hypnotize me. Don't hypnotize me. Hypnosis and NPL. She has 20 years of experience. She brings business savvy to your passion-based business. I know a lot of you have passion-based business, so this is going to work out either way. To create your foundation for growth, she has spent over half her life, and we're not going to talk about her age, uh, serious, seriously ill or seriously injured, and faced each challenge with humor and discipline. Kind of like my Risen concept. But we're not here to talk about Risen, but she epitomizes the catchphrase from Galaxy Quest. If you don't know Galaxy Quest, you're a little too young. Go look it up. But never give up, never surrender. So with that, I want to bring in Deborah Russell. How you doing, Miss Russell?
I'm doing great, Victor. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh yes.
And yes, this is silver, not blonde.
I was not going to go there. Okay, I was not going to go there because if you didn't know, the trend nowadays is to dye your hair silver.
I thank the dragons for that.
Oh, are you a Game of Thrones? Oh my God.
Of course. I don't know if you can see behind me. I do have a little dragon back on my shelf. I have dragons everywhere.
Oh, this just turned into a different interview.
Okay.
This just turned to a different interview.
We could have more than one. I would love to find out more about your rise concept on another call. But I am absolutely in favor of NIL. I find it a little amusing that you call it NIL because that has other meanings. But but you know, when I was in college, I knew college athletes who literally didn't have food because yes, they had a full ride, and yes, they had a meal plan and a housing subsidy, but they were in practice when the dining halls were open. And they didn't have money to buy food. And so they were hungry. These are kids, you know, oh, well, they're getting a full ride in school, but, you know, there's more to the experience than just your tuition. And in fact, my school actually opened a cafe in the sport, you know, building that was free for the athletes so they could always have access to food.
I will tell you, you just brought up a story to my memory about the Miami Hurricanes. There's a 30 for 30 ESPN piece about how exactly what you said, going on a whole different level of need and things they did. And the issue that a lot of folks have with NIL is now it's regulated as opposed to a handshake. And I get it. I get it. However, let's talk about harnessing these individuals that are going to get these deals, eighth graders, you know, already committing. How do these folks, most of which come from less than nothing, understand how to do this and how to move forward and how to make sure this money is used right?
So first of all, I want to give a warning to kids in high school who are getting NIL deals. You need to check with your state because some states have laws about high schoolers getting NIL deals that will prohibit them from getting scholarships into college. So just make sure that you're not, like, you need to know the rules and that you're not breaking the rules for your state. Every state is different. How do they, you know, you need a lawyer, period. And you need to read every single word of the contract with your attorney and on your own. You need to learn contract language because contracts, when you're handed a contract from a sponsor or a prospective sponsor, that contract is written for the sponsor's benefit, not for yours. And everything is negotiable. So yes, you are handed a contract but that contract isn't written in stone. You can go back to your sponsor and say, you know, paragraph 8, I want you to strike section A and B. You can offer rewording, relanguaging of sections in the contract. These are not written in stone. In fact, they expect you to come back at them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, then that tells them a lot about your savvy around, you know, making these deals, because the contract is written for them. It's not written for you. So hire a lawyer, whether you go through something like LegalZoom or you have a subscription to an attorney or you find an attorney. If you're even thinking that you might go into professional sport, you're going to need one anyway.
Absolutely.
Right? You don't just need an agent. Again, agent contracts written for the agent, not written for the athlete. Okay. And agents, you know, it's funny because agents don't love me, which I always find rather amusing. Agents don't love me because I create athletes who are self-realized, who are savvy business people, who understand the role that the agent plays in their business. Because I know this is a crazy concept. The agent works for you. You don't work for the agent.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
agents don't want you to know that. Agents want to have control. And I understand why they want to have control. That doesn't mean they get to have it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the best, most successful athletes understand this and think of themselves as business owners, even if they're employees of the college and are getting a salary, which is now allowed through NIL.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're an employee of a professional sport team and getting a salary from that sport team, you still are a business owner. You own your brand, you own your name, you own your image, you own your likeness. Do not give it away.
Oh my goodness. Do you rap? Because you just dropped some bars.
I'm a little bit passionate about this, Victor, in case you hadn't tell.
I can tell. And you brought up a few things I wanted to touch upon. These young kids getting an agent. What about the case like Lamar Jackson, whose mom acts as his agent and uses lawyers with the NIL? And I ask because, again, most of these young men and women that are getting NIL deals, they're not used to having this type of language or no, and getting snowballed into something. And professional athletes, the majority of them, when they finish their career, they're back just above where they left before they became a superstar. So what are your thoughts on that? Because as a dad, my 8th grader, let's say I don't know anything about business. I have a master's in human relations and a undergraduate in business administration. Let's say I don't have that, right? I'm just dad who works at Home Depot trying to get my son or daughter through college. How do I understand that language, and how do we become the parent like Lamar Jackson's parent? How do I hire you?
So that's, first of all, that's a brilliant question. And I see this. The reason I decided to start working with athletes, because my background is in film and television. I work with a lot of artists, musicians, performers, right? That was kind of where I started when I started coaching. But I decided to work with athletes because I read an article about an athlete suing his father and his brother
I recall.
because he didn't like how they spent his money, how they invested his money, the investments they made, whatever. And that breaks my heart because that's family. And you break those relationships, how do you repair that, right?
Absolutely.
How do you come back from suing your family? That's heartbreaking to me. So that's what got me into the whole, because I'm not an athlete. I was not a sport major. I have had no connection to sport when I first started, right? Just when I decided to go into working with athletes. Lamar Jackson's mom is an exception to this rule, which is that in general, your family, unless they're an attorney, they're a CPA, they're MBA, they know business, they are a CFP, they have no business running your business because they don't have the knowledge.
Yes.
And she is a wonderful exception to this rule, and she's doing a fabulous job for him. There's maybe a handful of exceptions. More often than not, it hurts the athlete because they don't know. They just don't know. And how can they ask the hard questions of their mom or their dad or their brother-in-law or their friend from down the road? Right? How can they ask those hard questions without, impacting that love relationship?
Absolutely.
If you can't ask the hard questions, you have no business being in business with them.
Yes. Yes.
So that's kind of my take. Now, if you want to bring a family member on into your business, they need to either get themselves trained, or you need to figure out what are their core competencies and then use them appropriately in your business, right?
Absolutely.
So that's part of the role of being the CEO of your business, is knowing what are the jobs and what are the core competencies necessary for those jobs? What are the skills for that job? How do you qualify for that job? And then do your due diligence when you're hiring someone, because you are literally hiring someone.
Absolutely.
Even if they're family.
Absolutely. I love the way you just put that. I really do, because we have to examine, in my opinion, an athlete is an entity. An actor is an entity.
Correct.
You are an entity. If you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, whatever it is you want to call yourself, you have to treat yourself like a business with everyone. And when you do that, you might lose friends. You might lose family members, because the bottom line is, I'm doing this for me and you. But if you're going to go into the meeting and not understand a word that's going on, all that you know is, I want this amount of money for my son, my client. Those loopholes and the wording will get you. It will. So that's why I think it's so important, especially when these young kids are signing these deals, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, where their brains are still developing. They have not experienced life. Some parents know, some parents don't. Some people can afford, some people can't. I got to ask the question, because chronic things over your life, half your life. What made you jump into this? Because I feel a passion. When you're talking, I feel a passion coming from you. What caused you to become a certified business coach? You obviously are a great speaker. But what drove you to do that?
Oh, Victor, that's a very long story. So I will just give you the highlights of it, the long and winding road. So I came up through the arts and entertainment industry. I working in film, television, theater, first as an actress, then in production. And my goal was to be a producer director of film and television. And I had a producer ready to finance, to back my first feature film as a director.
Oh, wow.
And I got sick. So in your introduction, you were saying how I spent half of my life, right? I was very, very ill for a very long time. I was bedridden for 3 years. I was housebound for about 10.
Mm.
So when people were like around COVID were saying, oh my God, I've been shut in for 3 months. I'm like, oh, please hold my beer. 3 months, that's nothing.
Yeah.
When I started to feel better, when I started to come out of that, and I do still have a chronic illness, but I am functional now, which I wasn't then.
Yes, ma'am.
When I started coming out of that, I was like, I can never go back to film and television. I can't put in a 17-hour days.
Mm.
And if you're a producer director, that's 17-hour days, 7 days a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
brutal. It's very hard. I can't do that. I'll never be able to do that. So now what?
Mm.
And I did a lot of this and a lot of that, and I tried this, and I kind of followed serendipity where it led me, and I just kept asking, what
Yeah.
am I supposed to do now?
Lead me, guide me.
Send me teachers, send me guides, send me opportunities. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And coaching found me, literally came out of the woodwork and grabbed me.
Wow.
And the details of that is, we'll sit down with a glass of wine or a scotch and hash that out. But when I really explored what coaching was, because I'd never heard of it. In fact, when I started coaching, nobody had ever heard of it. This was like 2001. I would say I'm a coach, and people would say, Lamaze?
Okay. A life coach.
No.
Yes.
It was the best fit of anything I've ever done, including working in film and television, which I thought was my heart. It so closely fit who I am at my core that I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then, of course, in 2005, as part of my business, I started speaking, and all of the training that I'd gotten as a BFA in theater, all of that training went right into my speaking, right? So I've spoken in front of 2,000 people. I have no problem speaking in front of a room filled with people. It's really funny when I speak to athletes because I'm tiny. You can't tell. I look a lot bigger online. I am 4'11", nothing.
Wow.
And I'm in a room of like 6'5",
Giants.
6'7" guys. It's
Yeah.
very funny. We all laugh about it. In fact, I had one participant say, Deborah Russell, she's 5 feet of heat.
You know what? You need to trademark that. You need to trademark it.
Oh, it's great, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's kind of, but I worked with artists first because that's my background.
Yeah.
And everybody I knew was a musician, so I worked with musicians first, right? But I'm a huge sport fan. Football, basketball, baseball, tennis. I love sport. I love the Olympics. These athletes are amazing. I started out as a dancer. Dancers are athletes.
Yes. Yes.
And it just so it was not it may sound like it's what? How did that come about? But for me, the idea that an athlete, that 70% of athletes are bankrupt within 5 years of leaving their professional sport is horrifying to me.
Yes.
They don't need to be a star. They're still making more money than most people.
Absolutely.
And that should not be happening. And it doesn't have to.
Absolutely.
Right. That's what I help clients with. I help them with their transition plan. I'm not a CFP. I don't want to be investing your money, but I help you know how to talk to a CFP and how to read a spreadsheet. Someone comes to you and wants you to invest in this business. How do you know whether or not it's a business you want to invest in? Let's do some finance. Let's do some forecasting. Let's find out what's missing from that spreadsheet that they're not talking to you about. So that's what I help with.
I'm going to connect you. What you don't know is I have several connections within the sporting world, particularly the WNBA. Uh, I will pass your
Go
information on.
Aces. I'm in Las Vegas.
Okay. All right. You love so odds are getting the what is it, fourth or third MVP. You're excited about that, right? Um,
Betcha.
but uh, how can someone reach you? How can someone book you? And how can we, follow you?
Absolutely. So on the gram, as they say, but I'm much more active on Threads at the moment because I was a big Twitter person, so Threads kind of replaced that when it became X.
Trust me, I
We're
know.
not talking about politics on this call, but I would love to have that conversation with you.
Bring me
Um,
on.
at Biz Coach Deborah. On LinkedIn, I'm Deborah Russell. I was the first Deborah Russell on LinkedIn back in 2007.
Oh
So I've
wow.
been on LinkedIn forever. But I have given you a special link for my ebook, which is Move from Overwhelm into Action, a guide to shift from procrastination into productivity. Productivity is one of my specialties. And so that's free to all of your listeners. And from there, you're going to be connected to me. You'll have my email address. But my email address is very simple. If you can spell my name, you can find my email. I'm Deborah at DeborahRussellCoaching.com. And Deborah, Debra, Russell with 2 S's, 2 L's.
If you can't see her name in the lower third, I'll blow it up. But
Excellent.
Deborah, I know we're running short on time. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I want to thank you for coming on Fantasy Sports and Politics, sharing the information. This is what I do. It's not just about the sport. It's just not about, you know, talking trash back and forth. It's about making folks literate, literate about what actually happens
Yeah.
in the business and the political side of sports. I love doing these portions of my show because I learned something, the viewers learned something, and I guarantee you, when I share this with certain people, you're probably going to get a few calls. You're going
I
to
look
probably
forward
get a
to it.
few calls. And again, I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate you. And any parting words for anyone?
I would say don't underestimate the value of experts in your business. It's not just assistants, it's not just employees. You need experts, you need a team of experts. And of course, I think you need a business coach.
Yes. Yes.
Victor, thank you so much for having me. Absolutely my pleasure. Let's do this again and talk about politics.
Oh, I can do it now. I'm retired. Before I
Oh,
couldn't, but now, oh my goodness, we've got a lot to talk about. Anyway, folks, uh, we're going to thank Deborah for coming on. Hopefully, we'll have her back sometime. And when we come back, I'll give you my predictions for this week. You're not going to want to miss it. Okay, I'm back. My mic's unmuted. All right. I want to thank Deborah for that great interview. Again, if you want to get in touch with Deborah and receive that free ebook, DeborahRussellCoaching.com. Again, that's DeborahRussellCoaching.com. If you want to book some time with her, there you go. Go to her site, see what she's about. Um, she is more than just NIL. She has a lot of life lessons to help with our future athletes. As you saw on the infographic, she deals mainly with C-suite individuals. If you don't know what C-suite is, that's your CFO, CEO, COO, all those. The C being chief of those organizations. But that doesn't mean she can't help you. It's a lot that she offers, and I guarantee you that a conversation with her will change the way you view a lot of things. And something that's going to change, I hope not. Yesterday, there was a report put out that the Ravens are ready to move on from Derrick Henry. Chris wanted me to post this, so I'm going to show it. I don't believe it. Now, I think it's 104 million. Let me look at my stuff before I get into it. I believe it's $104 million that is owed Derrick Henry. I can see that happening, but do I believe it's going to happen? No. When you have your top 8, now mind you, Derrick Henry is not in the top 8 of the paid Ravens on that team. He's making 104 over a period of time, but right now, the Ravens are without their top 8 highest paid players. Some people have already thrown the towel in on the Ravens. The Ravens' record without Lamar, since he's been the quarterback, I think it's like 4-9, 4-10 now. Probably going to be 4-11. But I don't think you throw away Derrick Henry because you're having a rough patch at the beginning. Now, let's say they go 1-5. So likely possibility playing the Rams this week. They still have 11 games left in the season. I think the Ravens will go over 10 plus wins this season. They can't do that if they trade away Derrick Henry. I'll just be honest. The Ravens right now are what the Bengals are when they're at full strength. Dynamic or very aggressive offense with a mediocre to poor defense. The Ravens have, who would think to say this? The Ravens have the worst ranked defense in the entire NFL. Who would have thought that? So Lamar and company have to score a lot of points. Lamar's not in the game. Zay Flowers, ineffective. Mark Andrews, ineffective. They load the box to stop Derrick Henry. Now, no knock on the backup, and I get it. 2 different styles. Doesn't matter to me. The offensive play caller caters the system and players to the quarterback. Here's the difference. The line is catered for Lamar and Derrick Henry. Lamar has had time to throw the ball, but Lamar is more mobile than the current quarterback that's back there. Cooper Rush, I'm not going to say he's a statue, but he's not a mobile quarterback that's going to make things happen. He's not. You know, and Chris, stop bringing me bad news. Chris says, what if Lamar's injury is worse than expected? First of all, if Lamar's injury is worse than expected, I'm screwed because I have Lamar Jackson in almost every fantasy league I'm in. Now, if his hamstring is worse, then report it. And I predicted once he sat out the rest of the game that he got injured in, they were going to keep him out through the bye week because that was at least 3 weeks, right? That was at least 3 weeks. He'll come back after the bye week. But if he doesn't, then yes, I do believe the Ravens will probably win maybe 3 games this season. If Lamar Jackson does not return and is not as capable as he was prior to the hamstring, I don't believe they win more than 3 games because the defense, even with that top talent, they're still not that good of a defense. I don't know if it's scheme. I know you've got some dogs that play, but Jair Alexander, traded for him, not on the field. Hamilton, big hitter, nice cover guy, not on the field. Lost Roquan, leader of the defense, not on the field. They just traded one of their defensive ends to a division rival or conference rival, sent them to the Chargers. That might be an indication of sell mode for the Ravens. So, Chris, I don't think there's a lot of hope if Lamar sits out or it doesn't come back the same. I think Baltimore becomes a seller before the trade deadline. I hope not, because like I said, I've got Lamar in every league, but I'm not one of these owners that get one quarterback and be like, oh, I'm good. No, I try to get somebody that's a decent backup. Maybe not the same, but a decent backup. Now, in my 2 quarterback league, oh boy, I've got 2 quarterback leagues, but oh boy. In one of them, it was Lamar and Burrow. I've lost Burrow, right? And I've lost Lamar. Luckily for me, when I lost Burrow, I was able to grab Jordan Love off of waivers. So I at least have 1 quarterback. In my league that I run, where you can have 2 quarterbacks. Actually, I'm in 4 leagues with 2 quarterbacks. Just realized that. But only these are the ones that I have Lamar. I have Michael Penix and Lamar. Now, in my league, I have a rule. You cannot have a player on IR if they're questionable. Now, what the NFL does and what a lot of these teams do is after Sunday, Monday's games, they change the designation of the player from out to questionable or doubtful. If it's out, they can stay on IR. If it's doubtful, they got to come off. If they're questionable, they got to come off. So the player I picked up this week or last week was Trevor Lawrence. Balled out for me, right? But because Lamar was designated as questionable on Tuesday, I had to move him off of the IR spot, and I had to wait. I had to wait till yesterday, a matter of fact, to grab a quarterback from the wire. And remember, each team has 2 quarterbacks. But my rule is you can't have more than 2 quarterbacks on your team unless one's on IR or both on IR. So there are maybe 4 or 5 quarterbacks that are on the waiver wire, Trevor Lawrence being one of them. So I was able to get him back. But Trevor goes on by in a couple weeks. So I need Lamar to actually come back during his time to come back, or I'm screwed again. But it's the rules. Some players in my league like to circumvent the rule and try to play that game and try to play victim. I want them gone. They're actually going to get kicked out after the season. If they're complaining about my rules and they're circumventing them or whatever, they're gone, man. I don't have the bandwidth to deal with somebody who makes a mistake or who doesn't check their own team after they auto pick players and then they want to bitch and complain. I don't have the bandwidth for that. They're not coming back. So just to let y'all know, there'll probably be 3 to 4 openings in my league next year, and I'm serious. So it's for money. So if you want in, hey, the doors of the church are open. I don't mind bitching and complaining and moaning, but don't continually do it. And then when it's pointed out that you are partly to blame or mainly to blame, don't attack. I just don't have the energy for it. But back to this whole thing with the Ravens. Let's start with them. Let's start with that game. It's not the first game of the week. But let's start with them. Okay. They're taking on the Rams. Rams are 3-2. Baltimore's 1-4. The game's in Baltimore. I believe there's going to be a lot of boos happening in that stadium. Cooper Rush, Zay Flowers might not be available to you, Cooper. That means Bateman might be the number 1 target. Andrews has to be the number 1 target. Even DeAndre Hopkins. The one thing about the Rams is, I don't know why, but versus certain teams, they don't stop the run well. This is a game where Derrick Henry, they need to rush him 30 times, control the clock, keep Matt Stafford, and oh my gosh, Puka Nacua, who's already having a banner year, he's probably going to get like 15 to 20 catches this game because the secondary of Baltimore is so terrible. What do you want me to say? This is what, week 6? I got the Rams. All right, first game of the week though is Denver playing the Jets in London. That's a 6:30 a.m. start for me, Pacific time. 9:30 a.m. start for you. Some are saying he's going to go watch the Cubbies. I'm going to bounce at 2:08 and watch his Cubbies. Hopefully the Cubbies win. I want the Cubbies to win because I know I think the MVP voting is already closed, and I think they're going to give it to Ohtani. But I think Pete Crow is worth it. I know the Phillies guy was in it, but I think Pete is worth it. Denver's going to win this game, as Chris says. Denver all day. But should they have beaten Philly? I don't think so, but they did. Patrick Surtain did what I said he was going to do. Philly started throwing the ball, but they only gave the ball to Saquon 6 total times. That includes in the air. The Jets have a ferocious defense. I just don't know if they have enough offense to beat up on Denver's defense. I think it's going to be a closer game than most think. But I got to go with Denver. Next game on the docket is Dallas. I love PCA, but Shohei Ohtani is going to go down as the greatest player of all. Whoa. If you're saying Shohei Ohtani is going to be better than Babe Ruth, better than Ty Cobb, better than Reggie Jackson, better than the Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays, oh my, Chris, that is a bold statement to make. I think Ohtani is going to be a very, very good player and make the Hall of Fame. Maybe better than Ichiro, but that's about it. 50-50 with 200 innings pitched. Guy, let him do it 3 or 4 years and be successful 3 or 4 years. Oh, and the fastball, I saw him throw the split finger fastball for 7 straight innings at 100 or better. So yeah, he's got a cannon. He's got a cannon. I saw that live, but I can't agree with that. Not the best MLB player of all time. I can't. Go watch your Cubbies. They better beat the Brewers. They better. All right, Dallas at Carolina. Look, um, I hate Dallas. Period. Oh my gosh, Chris is gonna make me have him come on the show. He says Otani is gonna be the best player of all sports, all time. No, Chris. I know you're in Florida, and I know marijuana is legal, but you probably have your marijuana laced. I would not check your weed man. Make sure he didn't lace you with something because that's a bold, crazy statement, bro. Of all time, of all sports, better than Michael Jordan. Now, Jordan can't play baseball to save his life, but come on, bro. Come on. Dallas 0, Carolina 0. Okay. Look, I hate Dallas. I really do. But Carolina's dealing with too many things right now. Too many things. At home, they're very good. On the road, not so much. They're at home. They're 2-3. Dallas is 2-1. Um, I'm not putting a lot of stock in Dallas, but I put more stock in Dallas than I do the Panthers because I don't think Canales is on the hot seat. I don't think he is. I just think they got the wrong quarterback. Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard are the run game. Chuba's out. He's on IR. Rico Dowdle is supposed to play, but he's somewhat hurt. That means Trevor Etienne is probably next up in the chute. If you don't have a sustained run game, it's hard to throw the ball. Xavier Leggett, their number one target, because the rookie's out, 3 catches all game last game, and like 4 or 5 targets all game. Dallas can put points up in bunches. Their defense sucks, but they can put points up in bunches, right? So I got to go with Dallas in this game, even though I really don't like them. Arizona at Indy. Look, I got a video out on TikTok. It just reached like 1.1 thousand views or whatever of me saying how the Arizona Cardinal fans, which I am one of, but that's not my main team. I sit in those stands. And the things that are said about Kyler during those home games, look, he's on the hot seat. Listening to some of the sport talk shows, Kyler is the problem, along with the offensive coordinator. But sitting in those stands, it's Kyler. It's not Marvin Harrison Jr. It's not McBride, but it's also the fact that the balancing of the shortcomings, no pun intended, of Kyler is gone. James Conner. Carter showed up and showed out. DeMarcado, hey bro, dropping that ball again. You lucky you're employed. I see why Carter now got the start and got the bulk of the carries, but you are explosive. But bonehead plays. The way Kyler is, you can't have a bonehead play run game or running back. The Colts just got Pratt from the Raiders after the Raiders cut him. Pratt and Leonard together on that Colts defense, that's dangerous. The Colts under Daniel Jones, who should be the comeback player of the year, unless they say he can't get it, Amazing. Amazing. Okay. I can't pick the Cardinals in this game. I can't. I don't like what I'm seeing, and I support Kyler. I'm gonna talk about the Red River rivalry in a minute. I don't know if it's happening right now or not. It should be, but I can't make an excuse up for Kyler and his play. I see him scrambling when he doesn't need to scramble, or he can't see but one side of the field. That's a height issue. But then he's panicking and he's missing a lot of open plays. Easy for me to say, sitting in the club section where I got a good view of the whole field, but that's what everybody's seeing. So I got to go with the Colts. Surprisingly, the Colts, they might just win this daggone division. If the Jags don't, I'm gonna lose a bet because Houston don't look like they're gonna win nothing. I hope they can, but I don't think they are. Next game, Duval. I told you guys, Trevor does not lose on his birthday, and he didn't. He did not. He did not. Now he goes up against Sam Darnold and the Seahawks coming to Duval. I'm a believer, man. I listened to a show on Sirius XM called Moving the Chains. I want to be a part of the Moving the Chains X group, but I don't think they're gonna let me in. But Pat Kerwin and Jim Miller, former Bears quarterback and former Jets GM, have a great show, right? And one thing they brought up is about the scrambling quarterback or the mobile quarterback. Trevor Lawrence rushing 10 times Monday night needs to be a part of the game plan. Pat rushed maybe, 13 times, had 50, 60 yards, led the team in rushing again, which he shouldn't, but whatever. But when you add that dimension to the Jacksonville Jaguars, that's pretty good. Now, Trevor's got to stay healthy because this defense of Seattle is not playing. If they call those run plays with Trevor, they're going to be looking to take his head off. I still don't believe in Sam Darnold. Look, you have Cooper Kupp. Why is Cooper Kupp only getting 4 or 5 targets a game? I get it. Jackson Smith and Jigba is the guy up there. But when you know Cooper Kupp is a PPR machine, use the hell out of him. But they're not. And Jacksonville has the #1 defense in the entire NFL. They have the most turnovers, interceptions in the NFL. A linebacker leads the league in interceptions. 4. Had a pick 6, 99-yard touchdown. Monday night. Did you see it? I did. I'm a believer in Jacksonville. Seattle on the road is not that good. I got to tell you, they're not that good. So I got to go with Jacksonville. The Chargers in Miami. The Chargers lost both tackles. They lost Amari Hampton. Now they're down to Hassan. Oh my gosh, I've got his last name that quick. Ran the ball at Michigan for Harbaugh, so he knows what he has, right? Kid was good, extremely good. Power, speed. They're going to do well. I think the Chargers bounce back. Miami, I told y'all, Miami's 1-4. I didn't think they were going to be 1-4. I thought they were going to be 0-5. They're going to lose this game too. And I told you guys, at or before the bye week, my guy, Mike McDaniel, is going to be fired. I told you, I really, really think that's going to happen. I don't want it to happen, but Miami's given up, man. They've given up. The Chargers are locked for me this week. They are locked for me this week. Cleveland at Pittsburgh. Joe Flacco got traded. I told you guys during the preseason, Joe Flacco would not make it past game 3, game 4. He made it to game 4, benched. Game 6, traded. Now Dylan Gabriel's number 1. By pressure, because I think they really wanted to put Belly Zappi at number 2. I really think they wanted to do that. But Shedeur Sanders is number 2. I still think Shedur's better than than Dylan. Kevin Stefanski even came out and said, if Shedeur goes in, there's going to be a different game plan. Why? Smart coaching. But if you're okay with Dylan Gabriel doing check downs so he can look successful, why not make that part of Shedur's game plan? Because I honestly think Pittsburgh is about to go after this guy and do some damage. Even though Pittsburgh is not the best defense this year, I think, just me, Kevin Stefanski has lost at least half of that locker room. I really think so. I think Kevin Stefanski has lost half of the Cleveland Browns locker room. As Chris says, I can't believe Joe Flacco is still playing. Also, can you name another QB3 that has drawn this much media attention? I mean, we all should be talking about Baker being the MVP. No, we should not be talking about Baker being the MVP. But the reason why there's so much attention on a QB3, now QB2, being the MVP, not the MVP, being there is because it was widely believed he was better than Dylan Gabriel, as well as all the other quarterbacks that were drafted ahead of him. There was talk that he was even better than Ward. I believe he's better than Ward. Given the system and given the players and blocking, he will be. But that's why we're talking about him. So if you have a game plan set for Dylan Gabriel that makes him look successful, incorporate that same type of game plan for Shedeur, and don't take out the linemen. And run the rock with Junkins, because that's how you protected Dylan Gabriel versus that Minnesota defense. Junkins is a monster. That kid is going to be he might even get offensive rookie of the year. Keeping it 100. He might just get it. No preseason, no training camp, just comes in and balls. But again, I think Pittsburgh defense comes after Dylan, and they force him to make plays. Now it's on the road, so he may or may not make a few mistakes and throw a few interceptions. But in London, he missed widely some wide open out routes that could have iced that game. I mean, terrible decisions. Make those decisions versus Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, Isaiah Bond, nah. Jerry Jeudy, nah. None of them cats. You better run Junkins. That defense needs to stand up in Cleveland again. I don't know if they can. I got to go with Pittsburgh. Even if Shadur comes in because Dylan gets hurt or is wildly ineffective, I think Pittsburgh still wins this game. Let's go to Chris's second favorite team, the Patriots. Look, I told y'all I was worried. I really was worried about Buffalo losing to the Patriots, and they did. I went from a $25 bet to almost winning $5,000 if Buffalo would have beat the Patriots. So I lost $25. This cannot be a letdown game for New England. New England needs to feed Stephon Diggs, period. That's how they beat Buffalo. They fed him the ball and ran the ball. They were balanced. The defense wasn't bad. New Orleans is not that bad of a team, but Alvin Kamara is a little nicked up. Kendre Miller, probably not the answer. Chris Olave's there. All the weapons in New Orleans are rendered useless because of the quarterback play. Now, Taysom Hill returns, but are you going to wildcat them today? It could happen. I just think New England, and I told you New England's going to make the playoffs, at least get 9 wins this year. At least. This will be win number 4. They'll be 4-2. Possibly tied for the division lead. Haven't gotten to Buffalo, Atlanta yet, but we'll talk about it. But I got to go with New England. It was an NE heartbreak. She got it going on. All right, look. Chris says, is Diggs that good, or was it a Vengeance game? I think he is that good. He's always been that good, and it was a Vengeance game. And you said you counted 8 more wins for the Patriots. I don't got them going 12-5. Sorry, Chris. Or 11-6. Actually, 11-6 might not be bad, but I got them going at least 9-8 at least. But a game that sucks, but I saw a team firsthand in the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to say this publicly. A lot of those drops that are happening from Cam Ward are because the players, they're getting stretched out. He's throwing the ball high, low, out, and in, where the players have got to be acrobats. He's making the right reads. He's putting too much on the ball, though. And he's putting it in places where he's utilizing his receiver's catch radius, but it's just coming off the tips of their fingers. That's not good. If not for two miracle plays, Tennessee is 0-5. DeMarcado dropping the ball just before he crosses, the end zone. He throws an interception going into the end zone, that then gets fumbled miraculously by the Cardinal player into the end zone and gets recovered. by Tennessee. He didn't win the game. He didn't win the game. And seeing the way he plays, the Raiders might be some medicine to get something going if Geno keeps up what he's doing. But I'm here to tell you, I think, especially after seeing what the Cardinals did with the run game versus Tennessee, Ashton Genty might go for 200 yards this game. He's better than Carter and he's better than DeMarcado combined. Raiders offensive line, similar to the Cardinals offensive line. I expect Ashton Genty to go off in this game. I also expect Jacoby Myers to get some love. Tucker might too. But I expect Jacoby Myers to get a lot of love in this game. I do. And Max Crosby in game, look, it was tough getting to Ward, but they got to Ward like 4 or 5 times last week, right? He's in the pocket. He's kind of panicking. All right, I'll get to your Bucks in a second. Chris wants me to get to the Bucks before, he goes watch his Cubs. But I think y'all can get to him. I don't know about your secondary standing up, but I think you can get to him. I got the Raiders in this game. For Chris, who's actually that's the next game up, Chris. So it's not like I'm doing nothing special. Sanford and Tampa, 4-1 versus 4-1. Both teams I did not expect to be 4-1 at this point. I did not. You got a banged up Mac Jones who made the Rams defense look like Swiss cheese. CMC going to touch the ball 30 times again. Kendrick Bourne stepped up. You might get Jennings back, which is great. They're holding out Kittle for another week. So Tonga or Tongue is the tight end. Look out for him. Tampa Bay. Rashad White starts again, right? Or Rashid White, sorry, starts again. He's going to have another good game. Abuka is the number 1. Sterling Shepard, I believe, is the number 2. No Godwin. No Mike Evans. That's a problem. But Abuka should have a field day versus that 49ers secondary. It's just who's going to be there to support him in the pass game. It's got to be Cade Otton. It's got to be Sterling Shepard, your receiver, and consistent now. But somebody's got to step up, right? It's going to be a tough game. But San Fran's kind of hot right now. San Fran is hot. I heard a funny one calling the 48ers. Look, I think San Fran's going to ride the wave, dude. I really do. I think Tampa, both teams dealing with injuries, right? San Fran more so than Tampa. But, Christian McCaffrey used to play against Tampa all the time when he was with the Panthers. And he used to have very good games with a worse offensive line. So I'm going to give the win to San Fran. I think San Fran has the better unit of players. Sorry, Chris, but your guys are going to lose this game. Just my opinion. All right. Let's move on. Bengals and Packers. Here's a problem, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Flacco is a statue. Cincinnati's offensive line is garbage. You trade for a guy that has a decent arm, but is a statue behind a terrible offensive line. And you bitch Browning. Browning's turnover prone, got it. Why didn't you get Watson? Because you were afraid he was going to compete with Joe Burrow? Why didn't you get Shador? Because you're afraid that, he's going to show up pretty good? Listen, in Cincinnati, that's Burrow country. Ain't no way Shador is going to be the number one guy there. That's a safe way to keep him at number 2 for the NFL, unless you trade him. Why didn't you go for somebody, Jameis Winston? But you put Joe Burrow behind that terrible offensive line with Micah Parsons and the Green Bay Packers coming off a bye week in Green Bay. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And miraculously, I'm gonna say miraculously, Jamar Chase has an injury problem going into this game. More T. Higgins. But Joe Flacco gonna get decimated. Browning's not gonna be on the bench that long, dudes. Ladies and gentlemen. Browning is not gonna be on the bench that long. Dealing with that offensive line, Joe Flacco is probably gonna be in there 2 games at that. At that. I gotta go with Green Bay. Ridiculous, man. Lock number 2. Chargers, Green Bay. Then we go Sunday Night Football. Detroit at Kansas City. Look, I'm going to tell you right now. Bet the over. I don't know what the over is, but bet the over. Detroit beat Kansas City to open up the season a year or so ago. Kansas City beat Detroit to open the season, or their last time they played. Must see TV, right? It's a Sunday night game. KC lost a game where they were dominated, and then came back, but then ended up losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Detroit's way better than Jacksonville. They are. 2 different types of cats, but both have claws and roar. The Lions roar a lot louder. You can't afford to have Pat running around versus this defense. I think they're going to try to take his head off. I think it's going to be off with his head. I really do. Pacheco, that young boy Smith, and Hunt, they need the rock a lot in this game. They do. I don't care what type of running schemes or whatever you do. They need to run those boys into the ground in this game to control that Detroit Lion offense and tire out that Detroit Lion defense. Because if Detroit gets up in this game, it's going to force Pat to pass. I'm not saying they can't pass, but Worthy, Kelsey, Brown, Juju, and the other guy, I forgot his name, Worthington, I believe. Nope. But this is a very good same game parlay game to have. Gibbs over 50 yards rushing, Montgomery over 25. Gibbs and Montgomery rushing or anytime touchdowns. St. Brown, probably a touchdown, right? On the other side, Pat, good for 25 yards. I'm giving 25 yards rushing. Good for 25 yards rushing. I see Kareem Hunt getting 1 rushing touchdown. I don't know if it's going to be Pacheco. It might even be Smith, but I like Hunt. Short yardage, touchdown. Kelsey, 25, 30 yards receiving. Worthy, 35 yards receiving, 35 to 40 yards receiving. Pat, over 220 throwing. Goff, over 220 throwing. That's a pretty good, ticket. But for the win, I got Detroit. Okay? Let's go the first Monday night game because it's 2 Monday night games. And by the way, I lost the Philly game. So I already started 0-1, right? Buffalo and Atlanta. Look, y'all know, y'all absolutely know. I love Atlanta. I love Atlanta. After watching what the Jaguars, the Patriots did to Buffalo, I really, really think it's going to repeat itself. The run game for Atlanta is head and shoulders above the run game in New England. The passing game in Atlanta, I'm not going to say head and shoulders above Drake, May, and Diggs, but they're on par with Drake, May, and Diggs. I like London and Penix to do the same thing that May and Diggs did. Plus Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson in the run and pass game. Buffalo is going to get exposed again. It's not who you play, it's when you play them. And right now, this is not a good time for Buffalo because the weather is not a factor. It's indoors, it's in Atlanta. You can't pound the rock as much as you want to and be, oh, it's so cold, people don't want to hit, or they're going to make a business decision. Atlanta, this is the best Atlanta defense in what, 3 or 4 years overall. Matt Ryan said it yesterday on Moving the Chains. Matt Ryan said this is the best defense Atlanta has had in the last 5 to 6 years. I say 3 to 4. They don't necessarily have to get after Josh Allen, but when Josh Allen has to run, they got the players to hit him. And I think you see 1 or 2 fumbles from Josh Allen. It might be an upset to some, but to me, I think Atlanta wins this game. Next game and last game, the rematch of rematches. I'm going to be watching this game point blank, period. Chicago comes to Washington. Was it a fluke? Probably so. The Hail Mary tip touchdown in Washington. Chicago remembers that. Ben Johnson wasn't there. But that's when Caleb Williams and the Bears started to spiral downward. That's when Washington caught its breath and started to ascend all the way to the NFC Championship game. Caleb was the first pick. Jaden was the number 2 pick. I believe Caleb has the right coaches now, if he's listening, and the right types of plays called that will make him successful. For the most part of that game last year, Washington dominated until the second half. Then Chicago adjusted and made the comeback, ultimately taking the lead. Ben Johnson will script up some stuff. He will. Washington's defense has got to be prepared for it. They took care of the Chargers by controlling the clock, playing aggressive, sound defense. They can frustrate Caleb Williams. They absolutely can. But will the defense play disciplined? Bottom line, if the defense plays disciplined, Washington wins this game. If they get out of line and they don't do what they're supposed to do, they're going to get exposed. On the flip side, Chicago's defense, they didn't see Debo last time. They saw Noah Brown, who caught the tip Hail Mary. Terry McLaurin's not going to play. He had a big catch or big catches in that game too. But Debo and that young receiving core are going to have to step up. The offensive line is going to have to maul some people. Zach Ertz needs more than 2 targets. I'm picking Washington as a win. Okay. So right now, I have the Rams, Denver, Dallas, the Colts, Jacksonville, Chargers, Pittsburgh, New England, the Raiders, San Fran, Green Bay, Detroit. I had Philly, Atlanta, and Washington. My locks: Chargers, Green Bay, Dallas, and who was it? Who is playing them? I was going to say the Raiders, but I'm going to go with the Colts. All right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me talk about the Red River rivalry. The Red River rivalry. Boomer Sooner versus those Texas Hook'em Horns. Listen, I'm not going to besmirch Manning. What I am going to say is, though, Manning is not his uncles. He's not. And that's where Texas is going to have a problem, because their defense is solid. Oklahoma's defense is solid. Texas' defense is solid. Oklahoma's offense is a little step better than Texas's offense, because Arch Manning just hasn't got that rapport with their number 1 receiver. He doesn't. He's making mistakes. There's a lot of pressure on him to do well because of his name and the lineage. He's Cooper's son, not Eli's, not Peyton's. Cooper was the athlete out of the 3. He was not the quarterback out of the 3. That doesn't mean Arch doesn't have it in him to do what he's needed to do, but it also means that he has to work a little bit harder than what his uncles did. Texas cannot lose another game. They already lost 2 games. They're not going to win the SEC. What is it? East, West, I believe. They're not going to win the SEC West. They need to be an at-large team. 3 losses does not get you an at-large. You go from number 1 to not making the playoff, unless it's the 16-team. I believe it's a 16-team playoff this year. I believe it is. They might get one as a very low seed, very low, if they lose this game. The Red River rivalry has always been great, even when one of the teams sucked. Neither team sucks. It's just Texas's quarterback isn't as advertised. Boomer Sooner. Let's circle the wagons, OU. The real OU. Come on, you Ohio State fans. Come on. Come on. I dare you. Yeah, y'all got the higher ranking. Got it. But we are the real OU. All right. With that being the case, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, listening in. Hopefully you got something from Deborah Russell. She is dynamic. I appreciate spending time with her and sharing her message with you. Again, go see her, Deborah Russell Coaching.com. DeborahRussellCoaching.com. She'll help you out, especially if you're an aspiring athlete or an active athlete. She can help you out. All right. With that being said, I appreciate everybody. And I'm going to see you next week. I'm out. Let me put it on. Put it on you. Put it on you.
Fantasy, sports, and politics. Get ready to rumble! You wanna talk smack? You in the right place. So take a step back before I get all up in your
Remember, because I don't remember. I remember every bit of this.
The other dude's holding on the phone line. Your voice will be heard, sir.
Next caller, please.
Jerry's gonna get him.
Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics.
Listeners are asking questions about this week's games, not Jerry's personal beef. So what's your thought?